Oh my God. So thanks to my friends from India for making that appreciation video. Obviously, trash talk is a phenomenon. It spans all esports, and we actually have lots of fans the world over, and that's a representation of that. So it was nice of them to do that dance. Actually, we're sort of lying a little bit. That isn't what happened. Me and Sam got drunk the other night, and we were trying to think of a funny intro to do for the show, you know. And we were looking at like maybe we get some eccentric people to do an intro video, record an intro video. And Sam stumbled across Fiverr.com, and apparently there's an entire section where people from India, Sri Lanka, wherever, Thailand, they'll do dances for just $5 and messages and wishes and all that. And I think it was a little bit problematic at first. I did say to Sam, I did have some concerns. But then I thought, you know what? Like, I looked at the average salaries and stuff. $5 is a lot of money, right? So I was like, you know, I'm doing something good. That's how I justified it, by making those kids dance with words on their chest. That was my good deed. And look, are you all right, Sam? Are you okay, mate? Sam?
I'm fine.
I just hear you crying in the background, mate.
All right.
So, you know, listen, the advert on Fiverr.com said, I will create a freestyle dancing video performed by village boys. You can promote your website or messages or any text messages for business or just for fun. Now, Sam, can you bring up the picture? Because we did notice that the village boys, not to be confused with the village people, the village boys were young. But he clearly states there, I am not using any child labor for doing this gig. They, my relatives, and dressed in this manner to perform for this. Order now. So I'll sleep easy at night. I'll sleep easy. So, Sam? Are you all right, mate? Seriously.
Yeah, fine. Fine.
And if you wanna, if maybe you wanna have a show like Trash Talk, they've got other great. They've got other great performance artists on there. Check out this guy. Sam, roll the video, mate.
Happy birthday, Fiverr.com.
So that enchanting birthday dance was performed by Kazu from Sri Lanka. If you want to terrify your kids for their birthday, for $5, you can leave them with therapy that will cost about $5,000 to cure. Sam, do you think he made that costume himself?
It's unreal, man. It's unreal. What people don't know is this is literally the third day of us laughing at this Mickey Mouse guy.
It's unreal. The thing is, like, I just don't understand why there would be a market for that. I just can't understand it. I cannot get my head around it. Like, you know, okay, market forces are about fucking supply and demand, right? So there has to be a demand for people from Sri Lanka to dress up like a fucking seriously ill Mickey Mouse.
Imagine how long you worked on a costume for as well. He's been painting that motherfucker for weeks. Just collecting flowers and shit, but to make his own paint, and then he finally makes it, man.
Anyway. So,
see you next week.
We're probably gonna, to raise awareness for something. We're probably gonna do a bunch of those. So you can pick the best. I think when we get to 50 episodes, we can have a vote for who's the best, and maybe we'll fly them out to do Trash Talk Live or something. I don't know. I've done it. Maybe we'll do that.
Can you put your Mickey Mouse in the holder, please, man?
Honestly, that looks like something like fucking John Wayne Gacy admitted. Oh, do you know what I mean? The thing, it's fucking unreal. Oh my god!
Looks like someone on an estate, right? They've just spent all their money on fucking drugs, and it's a kid's birthday, so they just get something together and put their uncle in that Mickey Mouse suit, dancing outside a scallywags. Birthday, happy birthday!
We did it, Reddit. Right, anyway.
He's had a rebound.
Yeah. This is a show about esports, of course. So let's move on and talk about it. So lots been going on in esports this week, probably. SK Gaming and CSGO decided to swap Tensky, one of their better players, for Cadian, a not so good player, if we're all being fucking brutally honest about it. But he's a personable guy, which if you dislike him, you can take to mean he licks arse better than anyone else, or you can take it to mean that he knows how to network and he gets opportunities for himself. Tensky on the way out was sort of tweeting and intimating that he was depressed. Some people are saying in general, other people are saying it means about the team. I think that's a step backwards for SK Gaming, and it's a shame because they were really starting to come into their own of late. Maybe you got some views about that. Cloud9 finally spoke out about the Aderall accusations. It wasn't much of a statement that they released, but they did just say that they fully support ESL's efforts and anyone that's doing drugs testing. But they do not condone if any of their players or any players in general are using performance-enhancing drugs. I wrote an op-ed today basically saying that I think all of this is bullshit, frankly. I'm not sold on the idea that we need to have drugs testing in esports yet. Maybe we do, but I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. There's so much stuff we need in place, both practically speaking, and indeed, if you want to do a drugs test, there's no player unions, there's nobody to protect player rights yet. So how the fuck can you take medical information and piss and whatever, and skin and hair samples and everything else? What happens if someone's found guilty unfairly? We can't even run a LAN event where someone's headset doesn't get stolen, yet we're talking about how we're going to have a chain of custody of a piss sample that's completely untainted. I'm not so sold on it. I think esports has got its fucking priorities wrong, and I think this is a clamour for free headlines. Anyway, back to CSGO, all sorts going on there. eBettle, a underdog Polish team, managed to surprise the new Titan and qualify for the major at ESL Cologne. Now, this was predicated on an incredible performance by a player called Hyper. This is Hyper, who apparently has had 2 accounts fact banned and was banned from ESL for 2 years for cheating. People are calling shenanigans What do you think? Maybe you've got an opinion about that. Meanwhile, over in Sevo, Virtus Pro decide to finally get their shit together, lay the ghost of the 16-0 to rest, and manage to beat Na'Vi in the finals, which is a result I don't think many people saw coming. And also in CSGO, we had Nihilum. I fucking hate that name, Sam.
Yeah, it's fucking terrible.
It's dog shit, isn't it? Good. I'm glad we all agree. Anyway, so they've just got rid of the Hiko team. That was the team he joined in place of Cloud9, CLG, or anyone else in the American Shuffle. They failed to qualify for ESL, ESEA Pro League. They're not doing too much of anything. They were having roster changes anyway. And in the end, Nihilum have just said, you know what, fuck this. It was basically just an expensive vanity project for Hiko, by all accounts. So that's all done. Now, I suppose I should talk briefly about League of Legends. Should I? It always triggers me.
Don't even care anymore. Don't
Do you
even
not?
care. Nah.
Shall we, though?
Yeah,
Shall we just mention it briefly?
Entertain the plebs.
Yeah, let's entertain those plebs. So, obviously, Fnatic did go 18-0, which... unprecedented results. They were kind of in the first place. Origin was second. That was kind of a surprise. We're going to see Unicorns of Love take on Roccat, and I believe H2K versus Giants is the other one. So what do you think about the end to the European season? I still kind of feel the European region is weak as piss, but that might just be me. Perhaps you've got something to say. And how truly great is this Fnatic team anyway? Can we say they are truly great or not? In NA, we actually managed to have, it worked out for Cloud9. They managed to beat TSM. I did see some conspiracy theorists talking about that result, because obviously TSM were in playoffs anyway. We're in no danger of having to go to relegations, having a very close relationship with Cloud9. Cloud9 managed to get a result that's kind of against how their season has been. But probably is the big talking point there is Team Liquid topping the region, proving that they've moved forward since the curse days quite demonstrably. And Team Impulse, despite all of this freaky bullshit with Zhao Wei Zhao, which we talked a little bit about last show, they've managed to beat Gravity in a playoff and finish third, just behind CLG. So if you've got anything to say about that, definitely call in. I think without any further ado, Sam, go through the calls. I'm going to get another beer. 2 seconds.
Okay. Sick. The guy who decides the call is fucked off. Great show. Alright, it's between... The chat can decide. Jay Boyce, who wants to talk about CSGO and the doping story. We have Jacob Mann, who wants to talk about tournament formats in Counter-Strike. Someone who wants to talk about the LoL community rarely think for themselves when it comes to talk about the competitive scene.
Right, great job, Sam.
And lastly, Milky, who wants to talk about casting, community calling for more professionalism, and touch briefly on why gamers seek mainstream validation.
Well, since I only heard about Milky, let's do Milky, mate.
Nah, the chat's decided, mate. You give up the show. You can fuck
Oh,
off.
did I? All right, fine. Fuck them then.
Alright, someone goes for doping. Someone's LoL community. LoL community. Alright, let's... One LoL call to keep all the plebs.
Alright then. Yeah.
Alright, so first we have Oscar William.
Okay.
And he wants to talk about, to remind everyone, the LoL community and how they rarely think for themselves.
Right.
Okay. Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Am
all right,
am I all miking? Is it all good? Yeah.
Yeah, it
I
is
am.
actually excellent. Very
Oh,
good.
good.
We're off to a
Casting
good
mic
start.
right there.
Awesome.
Right. So basically, I want to talk about how generally, because obviously, most of the community are fairly bad at League, they will just follow their favorite personality in esports over anyone else. Obviously, a pretty decent example is Monte Cristo and stuff. But basically, my eyes sort of started opening to this after seeing a top 10 post about sort of the top 10 mids ever. And second was Dade. Now, for a lot of people, that won't be too much of a surprise, but now that I've actually started mentioning to a few of my friends and stuff that Dade's peak was actually comparable to Faker's level. The peak we're talking about, I think it was 2013 OGN Champions Summer, where he basically took MPP Blue as a team that was almost irrelevant and into a top OGN team. But people seem to just care about what their main people say. So if, for example, I go to someone on Reddit, say, yeah, I think Dade's level when he was at his peak was comparable to Faker's, he'd just go away. Monte Cristo says different, you're wrong. Negative karma for me. And I started noticing this as well with myself, because I've had minor jobs in sort of Challenger Series teams. My friends have started listening to what I say. So to test that, I just started spouting random bullshit about how certain players were good. And then I started seeing them say that shit on Reddit, and they just get downvoted, which, to be fair, is pretty fucking hilarious. But it just proves that nobody thinks for themselves, and they don't look at it in a subjective view to themselves. And it just annoys me because, you know, it basically means they're just a hive mind and become puppets to the people. I mean, if Jat says something relevant about NA, then they'll just go no, because there's a whole Jat dilemma and crap. But yeah, it just seems a bit crappy to me.
Well, I mean, look, I often find that any opinion, if you sort of put it out there into the public domain, it is going to be subject to an echo chamber effect, where a popular opinion, especially if it's said by credible sources, it's gonna take off, and it's gonna be lauded as the only opinion worth having. So, for example, in sports, really, most people conclude that Messi is the greatest footballer in the modern era, a phenom, you know, you name it, everybody waxes lyrical about him. The only really dissenting voices are sort of from the Cristiano Ronaldo camp, who say, well, look at his goals to games ratio. And it's quite interesting because, first of all, positionally, in terms of how important a footballer is pound for pound, it isn't obviously all just about goals, you know, keepers, defenders. I mean, Alex Ferguson used to say a keeper will win you a title when talking about Peter Schmeichel. So, you know, but very rarely do goalkeepers win Footballer of the Year awards. So all of a sudden we start getting into this idea that the debate is actually on a very limited spectrum. It's about goal scorers and people that can do trickery and are very adept at that side of the game, rather than a big, ugly centre-back who never lets a player get past him, which would probably win you a title as well. So, you know, I don't know. I've always been a big fan. For example, I think Iniesta is like as much to do with Barcelona's success as Messi is. But it's a very unpopular opinion to come out and say, actually, Iniesta is a more valuable player than Messi. You couldn't really get away with it. You'll have to wait for Iniesta to retire to really get people on board with that, which is another thing that's worth mentioning. People who never get respected during their careers suddenly, as soon as they retire or die, become the best. The de facto best. Like, it was inarguable. Like, if there was a League of Legends player now, a Korean League of Legends player who died, like, he would be better than Faker immediately. Like, that would happen. I mean, perhaps I'm over-exaggerating to make the point, but there would be loads of anecdotal stuff that would come out, and people would be like, yeah, do you remember that one time he did play Faker? I think he wrecked him. Yeah, he didn't. He did get first blood against him. He didn't wreck him. But that's what I mean. So people will invent things. People will change things. So I think this is like the nature of opinions in general. The reason why I've always valued people like Thorin, for example, is that they're iconoclastic in their approach. They don't really care about tearing down those sacred cows. I've never cared about that either. You know, I was the guy that I would always. In fact, actually, I used to treat eSports, and in particular Twitter, like the first day of prison. Right? You go in, you find the big bastard, you punch him in the face, and then you either get your shit pushed in, or everyone thinks, wow, this guy's a fucking nutcase. I better not fuck with him. And that's what I used to do on social media. I used to attack people who were super, super popular. In fact, one of the reasons now where I went from being Richard Lewis is a necessary evil for the League of Legends community, to I hate Richard Lewis and I hope he dies because he's toxic, and hoping he dies isn't toxic because he's so toxic he definitely deserves to die. The reason I went to that extreme was mainly predicated on the D-Man thing. And that was the fact that, I accidentally left D-Man's fucking name in an email that Riot had sent to, or rather ESL had sent, or some joint email from ESL and Riot basically saying, we can't have Richard Lewis breaking news about people leaving, specifically me. And because of that, now all of the little bitches who are fucking D-Man's, fanboys, I'm an evil figure. I mean, they know nothing about Lee personally. They know nothing about me personally, but predicated on that one incident, we can safely say Richard Lewis is basically the product of Hitler wanking into an egg, and D-Man came out of Christ's arsehole, you see. So, and that's pretty much how the League of Legends community thinks. So my point to you would be this. Given that it is a trend that seems to plague every sport, anything you can have an opinion about, why is it necessarily a bad thing, and why should we be surprised?
Well, the reason I think it's slightly different with the League community is if I just compare it to another subreddit I visit, r/soccer. Or I hate calling it soccer because that's not the fucking word, but still, I have to go by Reddit's laws. But
yes.
If you see in just the comments, someone will have an opinion about a player. For example, I saw a while ago how someone thought Rio Ferdinand was one of the best defenders in the world at the time, and it was basically about other people had opinions in the comments, and people were at least giving standardized arguments and actually being able to have a come back without just using memes and trying to flame them. Now, obviously, I get that soccer fans are in a different area of League fans. Obviously, League fans are very used to the internet. Soccer is a bit more casual. There's a lot of people who watch football at home. But it still seems that if anyone who's not a known entity within League of Legends, so just a random person makes a valid point, they will just get flamed down, and there's just no recovering. Downvotes, the post will be hidden, whatever. But if then we have 2 weeks later, someone like Monte Cristo, Doa makes exactly the same point, all of a sudden everybody just circle jerks around, oh yeah, great idea, I agreed with that. And I don't see that so much in other sports, just because people, they just seem to take opinions at least a tiny bit seriously from the regular viewer. And it just seems that League of Legends, even more so than CSGO or Dota, no one else can have an opinion unless they're a known person in the scene.
Well, you have to understand why this problem is very specific to League of Legends. I mean, it does exist in other esports, like it certainly is starting to exist in CSGO. I attribute some of that to the League of Legends runoff. We've caught a lot of the overfill of League of Legends, the people who've got bored of Riot still not being able to deliver a fucking working client after a billion years. Those people have now started playing CSGO, and they're trying to apply their very fucking limited worldview to a game that's older than they've known about esports, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
You see threads on HLTV. Who is the most toxic player? Well, apart from the fact the word toxic has absolutely no fucking meaning within the context of a professional player within a professional team. Equally, it's never been a concern to us. We've never cared about it. Nobody ever sat around in CS going, I wonder who has a bad attitude in that. Give a fuck. You know what I mean? It's a man's esport played by men. It's got a very adult theme, right? And we don't give a fuck about some little kid who couldn't get out of his Bronze fucking 5 promos for the 5th year running, suddenly deciding to play an FPS game. Fuck you. You don't get to have an opinion. I'm sorry, you don't. That's how it works, all right? It's not like what Riot want, which is like Sports Day, where the fat wheezy cunt with asthma comes last. We call him Sam, and he comes last in the race. Cheap joke. He comes last in the race. And, the teacher can see that he's about to cry. And then the teacher goes over and goes, oh, but you won a special award for being the most asthmatic person to finish the race. Yeah, we're all winners today. It's Sports Day. It's the taking part that counts. That is one lesson we teach kids that flies completely contrary to how fucking life works. But we just force it down everyone's throats. And Riot are basically... They're ultimately the first sort of social justice, namby-pamby games development company. That's it. That's their entire ethos. So, as a fucking result of that, their users, what they value isn't intelligence. They don't value intelligence, because if you critically think about some of Riot's policies, you would be critical of them. So we invent something, okay? We invent basically a reserved code of language, right? We say what's acceptable, what isn't. We use the word toxic. We force it down your throat. We use a jargon. Jargons actually shut down critical thinking. That's what they're designed to do. This is why cults use them. This is why governments use them. This is why the media bombards you every day with very specific phrases over and over again. It's to stop you critically thinking about the problem. Riot do that. So they've created a generation of young, impressionable kids that don't critically think at all about their product or about their game. So what they value is what Riot tell them to value. And what do Riot tell you to value? How nice a person is. Just how nice they are. And don't get me wrong, this was a problem. Go back to StarCraft and that fake motherfucker Day 9, like one of the fakest guys you'll ever fucking clap eyes on. Right? So fake that it's like, what, is it the 100th episode? Right, better cry for this one. It's been such a journey. Like, fuck this guy, right? He's fake as fuck, and people couldn't even see that. But anyway, so people put on this veneer of just being a super duper nice person, and because they're a super duper nice person, they can even get away with being wrong. They can get away with being wrong, demonstrably wrong. They can espouse opinions that have no fucking value. And people will lap it up. And then when you combine the fact, and Riot used to fight against this loads, but when you combine the fact that Reddit has become the community hub for League of Legends, it's a marriage made in fucking hell for logic and critical thinking, because how does Reddit work? If 5 people disagree with what you've said, then they can make it so no one ever sees your opinion. It is designed to be an echo chamber. And it's designed to promote the status quo by rewarding them with karma. Say something that's populist, it goes to the top. Say something that's controversial, it sinks to the bottom, never to be seen. And it not even never to be seen, but maybe someone will see it and then it can, what was unpopular could suddenly become popular, you know, like a debate's an organic thing. No, it just goes to the bottom and it just doesn't get seen. That's how it works. So when you combine the two things, it's just echo chamber paradise. Like, seriously, if the Nazi party were reborn, let's get back to Hitler having a wank on an egg, right? So let's say they made a new, I don't know how many Reichs they got onto. Sam, do you know how many Reichs they got up to? Was it the 5th Reich?
It was the 3rd Reich, wasn't it?
Oh, they only did 3 Reichs. Okay, well, that's good. And, okay, so it's the 4th Reich. I'm pretty sure I've heard someone call himself.
Oh, no, it would be the 5th Reich now if there was a new one. Right,
good,
yeah.
Right, so
I know my Hitler knowledge.
Right, good, Sam. That's why you're here, mate. So let's say we had a 5th, right? Just to play it safe, can we make it the 6th Reich? Can we do that? Yeah. So the 6th Reich, okay, they come along and they're like, well, what we need to do is we need to capture the hearts and minds of the youth and make them think like how we want them to think and not think critically and adopt fascist values. How could we best achieve this? Well, kids love the internet. Descendant of Hitler, number 8. Okay. Not really a catchy name. I'll work on that. Anyway, so, well, yeah, I suppose they do like the internet. And they like games on the internet as well, number 8. Yeah, okay, cool. And they really like to talk about those games on forums. So if we made a game that basically embodied a doctrine which is ridiculous and has no bearing on real-life experiences, and then we created a forum where anyone who spoke out about that doctrine being a bit weird and a bit strange got suppressed, not by us, but by the people themselves. And we paid a bunch of people just to act super fake and super nice and talk about those values all the time when they have no realistic desire to embody them themselves. They're just cutting a paycheck. I think if we have that trifecta, we could just create the Nazi youth all over again, but this time it wouldn't fail. And you know, I'm just saying, this is part of the problem. You're never going to get a fucking unpopular opinion past the League of Legends community. Never, ever. This is the community that went after Thorin, like, not once, but twice, right? They cost him a job, effectively. You know, I mean, this is a guy, right? Talk about damned if you do, damned if you don't. This is how fucked up the League of Legends community is, right? So Thorin says, I think Poland is a shithole. I've never understood. I mean, that's basically a summation of his argument. Now, I've never understood why. Okay, let's say I lived in a country. Let's say I lived in England. Do you know how many people tell me England is a shithole? And do you know how many people I tell England is a shithole? Like, I can't wait to get out of here. Gonna make me some fat esports money and I'm gonna get the fuck out of here. It's not racist. It's not fucking racist. I don't like where I live. Right? You know, and lots of people don't. Now, maybe you've been to a country, Oscar. I don't know if you have. Have you travelled a lot?
I've never been to a country.
You've never been to a country?
Nah, I live in the void of space.
No, but have you travelled?
Yeah, I've been to Africa and stuff.
Right, okay. What would you like to live in Africa?
Oh, fuck no. It's too hot. Shit.
Racist.
No way.
You've fucked, mate. I'm gonna have to end the call. You're racist now.
Yeah, well, I do hate black people as well, but that's not what I was going for.
Too edgy, mate. Too edgy. We've got an edgelord here. Trash Talk does not endorse the views of Oscar William, and we're frankly appalled by his attempt at humour. But anyway, so they went after him over that, right? Then he makes a joke about Reginald's personality being like a character from Planet of the Apes' personality. I'm sure there might have been an insinuation to a common joke there, perhaps, but ultimately it was comparing a character from literature or fiction to a real-life character. It's not a big deal. It's not racist. Not a problem. Right? They went after him for that. Then, what people forget is this was the straw that broke the camel's back, effectively. He was doing a show with me and Destiny, I think it was, and he said, no, it was me, Destiny, and Lycan. And he basically said, look, I just don't want to talk about a bunch of stuff. Can we just leave it? And Destiny brought it up, and an argument occurred, and he left the show before he said anything controversial. And then the League of Legends community went, look at him, so unprofessional, leaving a show before he says anything bad. He didn't fall for the trap, and he walked off the show. Right, that's a disgrace. I'm going to tell him, what the fuck do you want? What do you want, League of Legends community? You know, you can't win. You just can't win. If you're against the jerk, you're fucked. I think that's ultimately a summation of your point. Now, obviously, we need to cover you in a blanket and smuggle you off the show because your jokes.
What are you going to say? Smother him to death?
Well, maybe we do that afterwards. I don't know. I don't know what I need to do now to basically appease.
It's alright if I die. According to your law, my opinion will become popular, so I'll take it.
Well, okay, good. We'll make a martyr of you after the show. But I think it's only fair you get the final word. So just anything we can do to fix this problem that we've talked about?
Overthrow Riot, Ghostcrawler, and Riot Light. If I'm going to believe the Reddit circle jerk, of course they're the exact problem, and we're just going to have to do with. Can't speak English today. Do rid of them.
It's all right, mate. You can move to Africa now. It's complete.
Exactly.
Right, but I think I get your point. Anyway, Oscar, thanks a lot for calling in.
Having me.
Off to a good start. You take care of yourself, and hope to hear again from you in the future.
All right, take care.
Peace. So there we go. I mean, don't get me wrong, Sam. I think he's stating the obvious a little bit. The idea that League of Legends as a community is open to diverse ideas and opinions is hilarious.
Yeah.
Is that your impression?
I'm just fed up with it, man. Like, I'm sick of League of Legends. Can we just let it die? Can we put it down?
Tell me why.
Oh, it's just fucking it, right? Despite not even going to talk about the game in general is just a pure cancer on my life now. Like, every game is just pure drugs. Like, even if I'm winning, it's just like, why am I doing this to myself? And the security, I read the Reddit sometimes, and I can feel my head growing with tumours. Like, it's so bad. Anything controversial said, number one, you got to dig for it because it's been downvoted to shit. And then, like, the top page, like, thank you, Riot, for this new HUD. I am so glad you did this. This shows that Riot do care. And it's like that thread saying the answers on Ask FM, the response to the answers on Ask FM is why game developers don't talk to us. Like, fuck off. What kind of, like, beaten attitude is that? Just like, he doesn't mean it. They love us, really. I'm sure they're gonna put a replay system in soon. Thanks for the HUD.
I gotta say,
embarrassing.
I gotta say, man, I did think the Ask FM answers were fucking unreal. Like, I thought they were next level embarrassing. They were like, so yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I was really surprised actually. Now, what seemed to be a sort of movement against Riot at that point it did what it always does, and I'm always very dubious about this. It did what it always does. It takes off on Reddit, and everyone's on board. Then mysteriously, an anti-jerk occurs, and all of a sudden, you get three threads saying why that opinion's wrong, why everything's okay, and the original thread gets downvoted to about 0 marks. I never had 0 total karma. I have no idea how this happens consistently where Riot Games are involved. None. So it's kind of odd to me, but still, there's an old phrase. We get the monsters that we deserve, in society, and I guess the people who sort of support Riot get the games development company that they deserve. Don't worry, we're gonna really fix that replay thing, but here's some chroma skins.
I feel like I imagine us as like all those crazy people on the street just screaming, "The reckoning is coming! It's coming!" And then one day Riot's just gonna slaughter a child on LCS broadcast. Just and you're gonna be, "I fucking told you, mate! I told you all along."
So, well, to put this in context, right? Someone listed all of the things that they'd done in the last few patches. So just in this season, just in this split, right? Now you tell me, what of these are essential to a League of Legends player's life? So first of all, they made 57 skins, right? So far in this season. So that's 2 splits technically, I guess. So they did the Nemesis game mode. They made DJ Sona, right? They they revised the champion. They introduced that champion mastery system, which I've been talking about for years. Where you level up. Yeah. They brought finally an in-client match history option. They did Hexakill. They did the pool party community event, which I think was meant to look like the International, but was shit. They did some recoding of skill shots. They did the Bilgewater community event. And they made that HUD that no one likes.
Nice.
That even Riot employees say they don't like.
Good year.
So here's the thing, like, one of the things that like Riot Light and like fucking Ghost Wanker or whatever he's called was saying was, the departments are all segmented. So just because we did all this shit doesn't mean we're not doing other shit behind the scenes. And just because something's not something Light said, just because something's not a top priority, doesn't mean it won't come out. It might come out before something that is a top priority. Now, I don't know. That kind of seems fucking retarded, I guess, to me. Like if I said to you, like, Sam, don't worry, like, getting Trash Talk fully funded by a sponsor is my first priority. But
I gotta get this video of kids dancing first.
Yeah, but exactly. But I'm spending all the money I earn on making kids dance with words on their chest. You would be looking at me thinking I was fucking mental.
Sounds like my life in many ways, man.
I know, it's kind of ironic, actually. I have just described how it all works for us. But I just don't see that as an excuse. And certainly, even if it was true, which we have no way of knowing if it is or not, it doesn't really excuse like how it fucks up the perception. Like when you basically just give someone a bunch of stuff they don't need. Yeah, again, imagine somebody whose lungs are melting, right? They've got a disease, their lungs are melting. What they really need is a fucking respirator and some new lungs, right? And you go, yeah, I can hear you wheezing. I can hear you wheezing. And gargling on your own blood because you're a lunger, all right? But look down, mate. Look down. We've given you cybernetic legs. No, we've given you cybernetic legs, mate. Now, you won't be able to walk anywhere with the cybernetic legs, because you need oxygen to do that and stuff. And we're definitely getting round to the lung thing. But don't worry. Just in fact, actually, we'll put you to sleep now.
It's not our fault, the leg people did this. We're the lung people.
Yeah, we're the lung. The lung department is a smaller team. We got loads of people in the leg department. It's embarrassing, really, the disparity. It's almost as if we didn't prioritize with our staff hires.
You didn't even need legs. We just give them to you because we just got legs everywhere, mate. Just legs hanging around. We're just giving legs away.
So yeah. Anyway, I think most people are starting to wake up to the fact that Riot is it's a top-heavy company. They got way too many employees for one game. I mean, we're talking about it's something ridiculous. Like I think we're between 1,500 and fucking 2,000 worldwide. Okay, you compare that to any other companies have multiple titles. It's ridiculous. And they seem really fixated on all the wrong shit. Like, really fixated on all the wrong shit. So I don't know. They're not a good example. I mean, they keep trotting out that we're a young company. You're 6 years old now, dudes. Getting older every day. When are we going to see some fucking common sense?
6 years on one game.
Yeah.
Let's remember that. 6 years on one game. Unheard of, basically, in most places.
Yeah. It blows my mind. But, again, like I said, the League of Legends community want to fucking put up with that, right? Fuck them. Let them. If they want to borrow their mum's credit card and fucking, spend a load of money because, DJ Sona looks cool, right? But, good luck landing a fucking crescendo because the game's fucking broken. Yeah, sound. Nice one. You do that. You do that, mate. Riot are great, yeah? They'll ban you for swearing.
See.
Yeah. All that time and money you spent on that account. Remember that time you had a real bad day and you told someone to jump off a bridge? Yeah, you're now banned forever. Goodbye. Create a new account. Spend more money. Kiss your DJ Sona skin. Goodbye. We are Riot Games. We have got our priorities totally straight. Replays will be out in 2030. Yeah. Right, let's do another call.
All right. Next we have Jay Boyce, and he wants to talk about the CSGO doping story.
Okay, let's do it.
Take it with a pinch of bar salt. Say.
Yeah. Hey. So, Jay Boyce, can you hear me, brother?
Yep. Can you hear me?
All right. Yeah, I can. Is it okay to call you Boycey?
You just call me Jake. That's my first name.
I was hoping to give him a nickname. And Jake will do, mate. Jake will do. All right. I got rejected hard there, Sam. Right. Monitor this call. I might. Yeah, no worries. I might need you to hang up on this dude. Hang on. Group video. I'm joking, Jake. Don't worry. Group video is unavailable, mate. Yeah. Skype has crashed hard.
Give it a sec. It'll come back. Skype being dog shit.
Anyway, so Jake, while I'm trying to get my beautiful, beautiful face back to my beautiful, beautiful viewers, why don't you tell me what you think about the CSGO doping story?
Well, I mean, just for some context, I kind of found CSGO around DreamHack Winter last year, so that's kind of how long I've been following the scene. And in all that time, I've gotten pretty into it. And in all that time, I've never seen any eSports story go, viral and mainstream the way this has. Like, I was on ESPN app, and I, flipping through stories, and I see ESL partners with whoever to, combat doping. It's like, after all the different things you could do a story on, like you do a story on, oh hey, doping, and it feels like they didn't even try and get the full story right. They just pulled the one-liner from Semphis from an article where he's like, oh yeah, we used Aderall, and everyone flips shit over it. And I watched I think it was the halftime show from Vulcan, a week later, and he was like, yeah, we did it once, I didn't like it. It feels like it was like a media firestorm. It was just bullshit.
Did you believe that when Semphis said we did it once?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether to believe him or not. I guess you can never really tell. But it's the online community. Whether they did it once or they did it every single tournament, the fact that they took he was like, "Oh yeah, we were all on Aderall," and everyone just, the mainstream media took it up and went ape shit with it. Is kind of the like what bothers me about it. Like, you don't talk about the growing game, the prize pools, the venues, the players. Like, the one time they talk about drugs and everyone throws a fit.
Well, actually, I made this point today in the article that I wrote. What tends to happen, Jake, is so mainstream media is shit on esports for years. I'm sure you've noticed that as well as I have. Like, how long have you been into esports for? How many years, roughly?
I mean, I started watching Twitch about a year ago and found a guy who liked CSGO. I hadn't heard of CSGO a year ago, so it's like a very recent thing for me.
Well, that's fine. So you've still been around a year, all right? So you'll probably seen. I'm trying to get my chronology right. There's definitely been at least one shooting in America in that time that the mainstream media has tried to attribute to violent video games. And this is what the mainstream media did for the longest time. It used to be dudes like me and you, we were just nerds, right? We were just sweaty virgins who obsessed over computer games, and we lived in our parents' basements, and we drank Mountain Dew, and we ate Cheetos and Doritos, and that was all we did. And don't get me wrong, there's some people that adhere to that stereotype, but actually, when it comes to gamers, I've seen a pretty diverse cross-section in my many years working in this industry. That's where the media started with us. Then it was, are we all addicts? So again, if me and you play for, 4 or 5 hours a day, we have a problem suddenly. Professional athlete who trains for fucking, 12 hours a day, he gets lauded in the media, right? That people say, oh, he's just such a professional. He won't even leave the training ground. Me and you play our competitive game for 12 hours a day, we're a fucking freak. Okay?
Yeah.
So then the mainstream media went on, and it was like, well, despite the fact that actually there are no fucking studies whatsoever that really would make you form a causal link. I mean, first of all, we haven't even proved that gaming addiction's real either, by the way. And when they do, whatever, awesome. But let's do some studies in it. But also as well, there hasn't been anything that's a convincing scientific causal link between violent video games and perpetrating real life violence. There just simply hasn't been anything convincing. And yet, for every shooting that happened in America, for the longest period of time, they were gamers. They were fucking gamers. They played that fucking Call of Duty. They played that Call of Duty. Call of Duty's evil. They played that, right? They're obsessing about violent video games on the internet. And then they moved on to violent video games, and Call of Duty in particular being a terrorist training tool. I shit you not.
Oh boy.
They said anyone who played Call of Duty or Counter-Strike wanted to join Al-Qaeda. So the mainstream media eventually realized, no one's reading our fucking papers anymore. And that's because the older generation are becoming so fucking politically apathetic, because no matter who they vote for, they're just getting a red, white, and blue fucking dick up their ass every year, right? So they don't even want to pick up a newspaper right now. They just feel like everyone's in on a big fucking conspiracy. The bankers, the papers, the politicians. So they can't be asked. The young generation, who's been constantly shit on by this fucking mainstream media, we've got our own shit now. We've got Twitch. We've got YouTube. We don't even fucking turn on a TV set, let alone pick up a newspaper. And they've realized, oh my me, this isn't a good place to be. Our medium is dying. So how the fuck can we get people back to picking up mainstream media? So now all of a sudden they've got to appeal to our generation. And esports is the in. All right? Now, everybody who runs an esports organization, be it a tournament organizer like ESL or a manager like, Reginald at TSM, they love publicity. They're not going to turn around to the New York Times or the BBC and say, actually, fuck you. Because you shit on us for years, fuck you. You don't get a piece of this. Because they're thinking about the business. When I got approached to do an interview with a fucking very big media company indeed, I told them to go fuck themselves. I literally said there's no chance of me ever talking to you guys. Fuck you. Just get out. I'm not interested. I did an interview with The Guardian and recently at a Gfinity, a video interview with it was me, Thorin. And I basically said throughout the interview, I said to them, I'll only do the interview if I can talk about how the mainstream media are a bunch of fucking bitches and how badly they've treated gamers throughout. So this is why, to get back to your point, the mainstream media has fucking picked up all of these stories recently because they're thinking it's got crossover appeal. It appeals to the people who would never even look at what an esport is, and they might pick up a paper and go, oh, they got doping in esports now. I thought that was just kids playing computer games. I guess it's like baseball because, we all hate Barry Bonds. Okay, cool, right? So they do that, right? And then equally, the young people are like, hey, cool, the New York Times is writing about esports now. Maybe I should pick up the New York Times. Wow, they're supporting things I like all of a sudden. So it's a complete fucking con job. And the worst part of it is, everybody bent over backwards to fucking fix this problem. Did you know we had a drugs problem in esports? Did you know? Did you know that was like some big issue we had to fix? I didn't.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I didn't. Nobody complained about, oh, this dude's popping pills and that's why he's getting dropping 30 bombs in games, and oh, this guy, he's smoking this and that's why he's he sees everything. It's like you don't hear about that. Nobody says anything about it. You don't hear that it's a problem.
So what team are you a fan of?
Cloud9.
Right, that's great. Hey, no shame in that, man. If this was Thorin's show, the call would have ended, okay? but I ain't like Duncan, all right? I'm an open-minded kind of guy, and I do like the guys in Cloud9. I love Cloud9 as an organization. But here's the question to you, then. You're a fan of Cloud9. Let's say Semphis isn't lying. Let's say they did take Aderall. How do you feel about your team, your heroes,
I mean, it's like, did it help them? I mean, that's number one. Did it help them? If it didn't help them, it hurt them, or it didn't do anything. It's like they're trying to do their job. It's not, by the game book, it's not illegal. Nobody has a law saying you cannot do this at this event. It's like,
technically ESL do. If it was Katowice where they did it, which is what Semphis is saying, that would have been governed by the ESL major rules, and in the major rule set, you can't even have a beer.
Well, for me, I don't know. It's not a big thing you hear about. It's not, people flip shit in baseball, and about Barry Bonds and his, you talk about Barry Bonds. You see the early pictures of him when he was with the Pirates, and he's this, skinny dude. He goes to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Goes to San Francisco, and dude's jacked, and he's hitting, 70 home runs a year. That's why people flip shit over it, is because he got that much better because he took, steroids, because he got that much bigger, and that helped him hit home runs, power the ball. But, it's like, did Aderall help him?
Well, yeah, but so here's the thing, and again, this is the other big point that no one's really raised, and that is that, okay, if they're doing these supplements, where's the demonstration of improvement? Like, keep in mind, all right, that they went to Katowice, did Aderall, and were fucking awful. Now, I imagine they weren't doing Aderall at ESWC because the story that's where the story broke. They definitely weren't going to be doing Aderall in fucking Valencia because that would require balls of steel.
Yeah.
So, at this point, they're getting to finals without doing Aderall. And okay, it was different line of different players, but the core of the team was the same. So can we not start talking about does Aderall actually have a fucking positive impact? It should theoretically, but theoretically is no good. You need scientific fucking studies done on this. And if Aderall use is widespread in NA, right, and it's this wonder drug, why aren't NA fucking teams and NA players in every esports winning everything? There's
exactly.
there's something not right. It might give you like an extra edge, but we need to measure what that is. I honestly think that until we know, like, we cannot treat esports like mainstream sports. There's a reason why doing steroids and having increased muscle mass will make you a better baseball player, because you can fucking hit that ball like a fucking lightning bolt. It makes sense. Mechanically, it makes sense. There's no proof, for example, that doing steroids and being a big muscular player would have any advantages for an esports player that maybe needs to be nimble and quick movement and faster reaction time. It could actually harm your game being on steroids. And I hope you will notice the restraint I've utilized here, avoiding a freakazoid joke.
Oh,
right?
I was thinking, that was in my head. It's like, is Freakazoid better than Kenny because he has, he's bigger? It's like,
but
no.
Steroids are on that banned list. Marijuana's on that banned list, for fuck's sake. Esports wouldn't exist without marijuana.
Yeah, I mean, you try smoking right before a game, and you tell me that improves you. I mean, I'm reading chat right now. By the way, guys, I fucking hate baseball. Not all Americans like it.
Mate, I'm fucking British. We don't even know what it is. It's on at like 4 a.m. like on Channel 5 or some shit, and it's just on, and it just lasts for like ever. I went to a baseball game. I went to a fucking baseball game when I was over in Chicago. It was the only good thing about it is you can drink just right there in the stands. But I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I can't believe that's like your national sport, man. It's sad.
It's awful. It's awful.
But anyway, like imagine what kind of drugs you have to be on, right? To be like, I'm playing this game. Wouldn't it be good if there was like a really big competition and everyone from across the world all played each other at this game, and the winner became a millionaire and also made a salary from it? You've got to be baked out of your fucking mind to come up with that. There is no fucking way esports would be here without drugs. Fact. Fuck it. I'm saying it. I'm going to go one step further, Jake. We owe our existence to drugs. We owe it to drugs. We should abolish this stupid rule right now to basically, in honor of where we came from, which was stoned dudes in their bedroom with a dream. That's what I believe. So I'll let you make a final point, and then we'll move on to the next caller.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the issue of drugs, it's one that probably needs to be, before people start slapping down rules and regulations and all that shit, it's probably something that needs to be looked at and actually, God forbid, researched before people start slapping rules down. And I think it just, like you said, the mainstream media is just pretty bullshit with it. I read ESPN's article and ESPN's magazine that they covered esports in, and from being someone who kind of follows esports, it feels like it's definitely all written from somebody, the outside looking in, who really has no idea what they're talking about. And until they get some people who actually know what they're talking about and give a shit, it feels like it's the outside looking in, and esports is still a fad. It's a cult thing, and it's not a legit mainstream business sport enterprise, which I feel like give it a few more years and hell, esports might be mainstream, but the media still doesn't understand that these days.
Yeah. Well, look, thanks a lot for your call, Jake, and great to get your perspective on that. Hope you'll call in again sometime. In the meantime, you look after yourself, and of course, use drugs responsibly. Hope to hear from you again. No worries. All the best.
Thanks.
So there we go. Sam, what's your take on it?
I think we need to have proof that it helps first. Like, there's this guy called Thomas Swaggerty. I don't know if you want to bring him in. Apparently, like, he knows all about these drugs. I don't know if it's from research or personal experience. And he says, please, I need to get on just for 10 minutes.
Right, well,
I know the research.
Give me 2 seconds. Because I need... Oh, fuck up. I had a Twitch
Mess
bottle
with drugs.
Yeah, no, mate, honestly, I could do with a bump about now, but... I had a bottle opener here, Twitch themed bottle opener. It's fucking gone, and I can't get to my beer without it. Sam, take over the show again, mate.
Fucking hell. The show's already a mess. Between the intro we started with, the Mickey Mouse costume, and now this, just leaving the show over and over. Alright, Thomas, I'll get you on. Okay, I'll let the chat decide the next caller again. We have quite a few though. Alright, this guy called Milky, and he wants to talk about. Yeah, I told you about Milky, right? He wants to talk about esports casting, community calling for more professionalism. Connor Murphy wants to discuss the impact of sponsors on teams. Noah Webb, Cloud9, I give a fuck. This guy wants to talk about the replay system. Nah, give a fuck. Jacob Mann wants to talk about the formats in CS. Alright, we'll have Milky on after this. Milky after Thomas.
Right, let's get this fucking drug fiend on.
Alright, I'm bringing him in.
Hello?
Hi there. Is it okay to call you Thomas?
It is.
Hey, how are you doing, Thomas? So I understand that you want to talk about the drugs and whether or not they actually have a positive impact from an esports perspective. Again, full disclosure, I myself have tried a lot of these drugs, although I will admit, no, I haven't tried Aderall. So if you're going to talk specifically about Aderall, you're going to educate me here. So let's do it.
Yeah, I have a little bit to say about Adderall and also a whole nother group of drugs, nootropics. Have you heard of those before?
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, again, a little bit outside of my range of expertise, shall we say?
Yeah. Okay. So starting off with Adderall, when people say that it's helpful for esports, esports is gigantic. Like, there's a lot of different skill sets that are needed in esports, and you can't just point to one individual skill set and prove that and say that that does better for the game. So with Adderall, a lot of it increases focus. So you could say something with like CSGO that focus would be better, but you're already dealing with athletes that are like the top 1% or even like 0.1 of 1% of reaction time and ability to focus on individual things. And it's not like you're dealing with copper wires here. You're sending messages through meat. So there's like a limit to what you can actually do to improve.
Okay.
And all those improvements also have downsides. And I don't think the downsides are actually being spoken to here.
Okay.
Like,
Well, let's talk about those downsides. Just for the uninitiated, I'm familiar with speed and amphetamine-related downsides. Not least of all, a tiny penis, which is always upsetting.
There's been some research shown that Adderall specifically reduces like creative thought, and you can imagine yourself being a shot caller for CS:GO and looking at the mini map, deciding where your team is going to go. And a lot of interesting things with esports is like lack of knowledge. Like, you don't have a complete knowledge of what's actually happening, and you have to theory craft what the other team is doing. I think Adderall specifically would be very detrimental in cases like that, when you don't have complete knowledge of what's actually happening with the in the fog of war.
Yeah, so just to extend that logic a little bit further, would it not then be a case of, I know, let's say, for example, if you were in the lurker role in CSGO and you sort of needed to think about spatial awareness, where people might be, and also timing, how you can get in positions to sort of flank people, would you also agree that Aderall could be detrimental in that role also?
Possibly. A lot of that is like pre-positions, like that you've already repped over a couple hundred times in practice and scrims and what. So like that sort of deal. And I think it could actually be helpful there, like processing that data. But if you want to do something completely crazy, like come up with that snap decision that leaves everyone's mouth on the floor, I don't think you would actually come up with those as often on Adderall.
So have you used Aderall?
A
Is that
couple
okay
times.
to ask that? couple of
Yeah.
times. Okay. So what did you use it for?
Typically, with all stimulants, I'd use it like before playing music. Like
Okay.
do a line of some random stimulant I bought off the internet and then go play my bass for 3 to 4 hours. That sort of deal.
But how did you find Aderall and music? How did that combine?
It's just like a physical sensation. Like when you do the Adderall, then you have like, it's just a lot more satisfying doing repetitive things, and you can focus on it better. Your mind doesn't wander as much. That's why I find it anyhow, with my own personal use.
Okay. And what about, again, are there any other downsides? You're talking about how it stifles creative thought. Now, again, I used to do a lot of speed back in the day. In fact, when I was at college, so, between the ages of 16 and 18, I used to sell speed. That was how I had pocket money.
Nice.
And I used to cut it with ephedrine that I used to order in bulk, and we would crush it. I would spend all day, me and a couple of mates, crushing up the ephedrine pills. We would split it 50-50 with base. That's typically how we would do it. So I used to have ephedrine and speed basically on fucking, just on tap. And I used to get this, like, after a night on speed, it's great because you can drink alcohol, like, you can have fucking so much more than your normal tolerance would be. You're awake, you're alert. It's awesome. Like I say, apart from the tiny penis, which is always super disappointing. We used to call it whiz dick. I'm sure everyone has a different term for it. I saw someone put pilly willy in the chat. But anyway, the crash the next day. Like I literally felt like I was fucking dying. Like I cannot recall. There's very few drugs, I think, that will leave you feeling quite that bad. Like I think ecstasy sometimes, if it's not like the MDMA isn't particularly pure, but certainly speed is. That's why it had a reputation as a dirty drug. It left you feeling dirty and horrible the next day. Methadone was the same when that came out, and a lot of these designer drugs are. So does Adderall have a crash that's akin to speed?
Of course, your body always tries to like maintain homeostasis. Like anytime that you tweak the system, it will try to come back to a mean. And as soon as you take away like the dopamine reuptake inhibitor in Adderall, then you don't have it anymore. And now you're into a lower state. And I think that's something that also isn't taken into consideration here. The days after an event can be important. Like that's when you're going over what your performance was. Like all that important data processing that you have to do there is important to like the success of the team in the future. So it isn't a free ticket. It never is.
So what's your thoughts then about these drugs tests that are being brought into esports? I mean, first of all, do you think that Aderall would give an esports competitor a suitable enough advantage for it to be on a banned list to begin with?
In lower competition, maybe. In high competition, I don't think so. I think in high competition, it stops being about Twitch mechanics as much and more about strategy. And at that sort of like level of competition, I don't think it would do as well. And not enough to be tested for sure. I don't think these tests will be effective, honestly. I think like you're always going to have drugs that are being researched and then they're marketed and then they're used in competition for advantage. You can always get the drugs earlier in the process. So there will always be drugs that you can take that aren't testable for yet. And if you're going to like actually try to test for everything, it's going to be immensely expensive. Yeah. If you look at a sport like cycling, they're spending some ungodly amount on the different blood tests that they're doing. Like I think it's in the $30,000 or $40,000 per rider test, some ridiculous amount. So it's not really feasible.
I mean, do you think esports? I mean, because again, I said I don't even think we have a problem. I don't think we have a problem, dude. Like I think, look, I've said that you've got top Korean StarCraft pros and some Counter-Strike players I've known. They used to use beta blockers to try and stop anxiety, for stage nerves and that kind of thing. Adderall was everywhere, pretty much every game. People have been popping Adderall. We owe that to the NA scene. They brought that over to Europe. It was kind of like, the fucking conquistadors all over again. Like, he was like, oh, you come bearing gifts. Aderall, what's this? And we popped a fucking bunch of that over in Europe. And again, I know European players that have used it as well. But generally, it was just, coke, weed. They're the kind of drugs you would get at a gaming event. And, I consider them recreational rather than performance enhancing. So I don't see esports as having a doping problem. Cycling has a doping problem. NFL has a doping problem. I don't think esports does.
Anytime that you introduce a competition that can be modulated with drugs and then put a large paycheck behind a competition wall, you're going to have some sort of cheating. But people actually have morals. As much as we don't want to see it,
that's
a
true.
lot of people have a moral code. And if you're focused enough to get to that level, some people are focused and have a moral code and some don't. It's that simple. And those that have that moral code won't do anything. They won't cheat. They won't take any performance enhancing drugs. And the ones that do will. So I don't really see how you can fix that. And testing definitely won't do it because there will be drugs that will just get right past it.
Yeah, I got to say as well, I mean, I've never had to do a piss test in my entire life, thank God. Never. There's never been a situation where it's arisen. Thorin made the joke, actually, that he hoped that esports events don't start drugs testing the talent because that would be fucking awful.
Something else to consider is that you can get advantages outside of competition. Imagine if that you have a scrim block, like a massive just boot camp, stay up for 3 weeks in a row, like really working on your game, and you take the drugs then. And you go to the event and you're clean. It's like a week later, you're perfectly clean. No piss test will detect Aderall a week later.
Yeah.
So even if they have to do basically the same testing that cycling does, which is inside of and outside of an event, which is ridiculous for a video game. It just doesn't make sense.
So while you're here, Thomas, do you want to talk about neotropics? Because, I mean, look, I love to learn about new shit, and you know what it's like. This is like when a younger guy talks to an older guy. Both of them are into drugs, and it's like, what are you kids doing these days? They were back in my day. We used to do this shit. So I'm really intrigued. I'd love to hear more about sort of neotropics. I only know a little bit about it. So enlighten me.
So a few years ago, there was the whole bath salts thing, the research drug market. That was a group of people online. That was a pretty small community to start with, and then people saw that they could make money with it and spread out. That whole community basically got shut down on Bicycle Day, so April 21st, a couple years ago. I forgot how long. That community moved on to nootropics. So a lot of them are choline. They modified the choline system, which is like one of your base memory neurotransmitters. They don't get you high, but they definitely increase focus. A lot of them have been studied and show, on number tests, you remember a string of numbers. Instead of remembering 5 numbers consistently, you remember 10 numbers. So the base memory systems of your brain become better on these drugs. Some of them, some are new pept. New one recently that's come out is NSI-189. That one shows a lot of promise. It increases hippocampal density and does a lot of other cool things.
It's a catchy name, a real catchy name.
It's not even in market yet. It's been patented, but it's not on the market anywhere. It's currently being synthesized in Chinese laboratories for super cheap and then imported and sold on the internet. That's the sort of thing that they will never test for. Okay, not never, but 15 years from now, when that's a drug for Alzheimer's, then they'll test for it. But during that whole time, people can buy it on the internet and just use it all they want.
Well, I was going to bring that up actually because there was a fucking what was it called? Let me Google it quickly. But it was a synthetic. It was like a morphine substitute over in the UK.
There's lots of them.
Yeah, but
There's
this one
oodles of those.
fucking caused it was giving patients early onset Alzheimer's. Well, not patients, users, I should say. Early onset Alzheimer's. Like, it came from fucking nowhere. Let me see if I find the name of this shit.
An opioid giving people's Alzheimer's?
Yeah, because it was like it wasn't just an opioid. It was like one of these designer drug things. It had the effects of an opioid, but it did some other shit, and it basically just fucking made your brain.
Is it MPTP?
That rings a bell, actually. I can't remember the fucking name of it. I'm really trying hard to find it.
It probably is that from my Googling.
But it was quite notorious, actually. It was one of the few times in Britain that the mainstream media had talked about designer drugs, because obviously this really was a risk. And you had 30-year-old guys with fucking dementia as if they were, 70 or 80.
Yeah, that can happen sometimes. The thing with the research drug community is most of them were chemists. Like 90% of them were chemists who just used these drugs as toys. That's where it started from. And that community was so high level in their discussions about like the metabolite paths and just knowing the human body that I don't think anyone really had any problems to start with. The problem is when people started taking these drugs and just selling them randomly to random people who didn't know what they were, what they would do, and what doses they should be taking of them.
Yeah,
I'm kind of like upset about it, honestly.
So, I mean, do you think these have a big future in competition for things like, fucking esports? I mean, I imagine, first of all, if nootropics are as good as what you're saying, they're going to people doing exams, students will be taking them.
Right now, they're not that great. They're honestly not that good. You can like see what they do in tests, but you won't feel it. And you could probably like chart over a player's career when they started taking the drugs and stopped, but you wouldn't be able to point to one result and say, yeah, that's because they were on those drugs. So right now it's something that players are probably taking. Like I bet that like players in LCS and in the CSGO scene and Dota and all of them are taking these, almost guaranteed. But I don't think it's at a level that's actually a problem. When they come up with more effective drugs, maybe, but not yet.
Yeah, in League of Legends, it's mainly, again, Aderall and cocaine. Seems to be the only thing I've ever come across anyway. But I mean,
sounds terrible to me, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was the other thing. That was the other point I made. Like, if Samphis is coming out and saying we did it and we didn't like it and he found it more difficult, and I've seen lots of people use drugs and perform worse. They're just so desperate to get that edge, and it's like they take a drug, they don't really know what it's going to do to them. Plus, I mean, don't forget the panic factor. I mean, fuck, you'll have been through this, same as anybody. I went through a phase where I didn't really give a fuck, like, about anything. Like, I was just, give me a handful of that. I'll swallow it and see what happens, Like, so,
Why is my heart trying to get out of my chest? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because you just... Yeah, I'll do that. And then you sit there, and okay. Am I supposed to have an accelerated heart rate? I didn't think that would happen. Am I supposed to be sweating? Okay, now I'm starting.
We have smartphones now to distract ourselves, so like when you get into that state, it's not as bad. But one more thing I want to talk about is microdosing psychedelics.
Yeah,
that's actually another field that shows a lot of promise for increasing like cognitive ability. And that's something they will never be able to test for, because you're talking about taking 10 nanograms of LSD every day or something of that. You will never be able to test for that. 0% chance.
Well, I mean, me and Sam are both, we both lived in Wales. There's magic mushrooms everywhere in Wales, like literally everywhere. Like when you're about Sam, you'll have done magic mushrooms, yeah?
Yeah.
How old were you when you did them first? I was about 12.
14. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a way of life. It's like they're free, they grow everywhere. You just are like, yeah, is it September? Okay, I'm off I'm off.
And you know how it can change your personality, like the ability of your brain to change. And imagine that you're sitting there scrimming all day doing League of Legends, and you have a more pliable brain to like absorb the different facets of the game and what you should be doing, and like getting rid of things that you do naturally and doing things the optimal way. Like that's immensely positive to your game. I guarantee that people that doing that will see a good advantage, unlike these other drugs. I think that has the largest performance, like top end available, honestly.
I mean, again, would you advocate it? I definitely would. I've said this. I think if you do anything that can be construed as creative, the best thing you will ever do is, at the very least, take psilocybin. Like I've done. I done some pretty extreme stuff. I did ayahuasca, which you can get in Birmingham. There's a shaman that sells it over here, and that's some fucking intense shit. I don't necessarily recommend that for everyone. I fucking smoked DMT. I've done a lot of I tell this story all the time, like to people that I trust. I don't mind talking briefly about it on air, but I've traveled sort of interdimensionally. It makes you sound crazy when you say it, but like there's a running joke among my friends. We talk about the blue people. Like I fucking took this ayahuasca and I went to and met a fucking different, obviously it's a trip, right? But like I interacted with a completely different fucking.
You hear the crackling noise and then you're gone.
Yeah, mate, it's fucking unreal. Like, and I say to everybody, like, I fucking recommend it. I advocate it because like you're always coming back to fucking planet Earth, right? But like, and now I definitely do think about things differently. I consider myself to be not a more enlightened being. I think that's really fucking pretentious. But like you said, I think I got a way more pliable brain. I don't think it's as fixed.
It might be pretentious, but that doesn't mean it's wrong, honestly. Like, I definitely recommend it myself too. And I recommend it in sports. You know what? I want to see people playing the game at the highest level possible. And if they do some sort of drug that's basically harmless and won't affect the rest of their life, like they sit in front of computers playing computer games for 16 hours a day. That's not good for you. We're already accepting that. We're letting people do that for our own entertainment. Why not let them take this pill every day that makes them 15% better at the game? And we get to see better games. And I think it's a win-win for everyone, honestly.
Well, Thomas, I got to say, mate, I think you might just have been my favorite caller in the history of Trash Talk. I think you might just.
Thank you.
No, really, honestly, and I here's what we usually do: we put good callers on a whitelist. Okay, so it goes without saying you're on that whitelist. But I think next time drugs come up ever, I think we just call you, dude. I think we'll call you. We'll bring you in. Like, I love talking to fucking space cadets, man. Like, serious. It's got a negative term about it, but that's how I used to think about it. Like, I'll never be a fucking astronaut, right? But fuck space anyway. There's nothing up there. But in here, there's all sorts of shit. That's what I
have weed in virtual reality soon enough.
Yeah. Well, again, let's one step at a time, brother. But seriously, great to get your thoughts about it. I really appreciate it. It's a super intelligent call. I know you entertained everybody, and I hope to hear again from you in the future.
Alrighty, thank you.
You take care, Thomas. Boom. They're the calls that make Trash Talk, Sam.
Yeah, it was
right there, in a fucking nutshell.
Makes it all worth it.
It does. It makes it worthwhile. But like, seriously, I mean, again, just to get back to his point, you did magic mushrooms as a teenager, right?
Yeah, everyone does.
Everyone does, right? I don't get what do you consider that they've? I don't get me wrong. I know obviously you must look at your life and hate every living second of it. But if you could remember, if you could remember a good time,
I hate my life.
a time before you met me, basically. Right? If you can remember that, did it enhance? Did it enhance your life?
No, not really, to be honest.
Why not? What's your name?
Just weird. Like a mate of mine, I remember he started sprinting around saying, "The gnomes are gonna get me," and he was just sprinting around.
Yeah, but those guys are almost always fucking faking, man. Like, serious. Mate, I've done so like, when I've done fucking mushrooms, man, I've done fucking lots of mushrooms. Like 400 fucking magic mushrooms, single sitting and shit, like to the point where this is really fucking gross. I did so many mushrooms, my body wasn't even digesting the mushrooms anymore. So I was like shitting mushrooms. I was eating them, like just dry, like to keep topping up the high, like and they fucking smell like Stilton cheese. They're all gross when they're dried out, you know. And anyway, but I was just shitting pure mushrooms. Either that, or I was full. Either that, or I was full on tripping, and I wasn't really. I don't know. Like I don't know, man. I'm shitting shrooms. But yeah, the gnomes are gonna get. I used to hear like the way I always judge if someone's actually done a fucking hallucinogenic drug or not is you talk to them and you say, "Tell me about your trip," right? And if they have some mad, you know, introverted existential awakening, they've tripped, right? They've done psilocybin. Okay, but if some guy creates some like really bizarre outward force that's attacking them, which totally isn't in line with the trip experience, they're faking the bullshit. You know, they're either not high enough, or they're too high, or they're trying to derive pleasure from freaking out other people. There's just no way. There's no way. I mean, right? Do you remember did you have the drug man come to your school? Not the guy who sells them, the guy who tells you about them.
Yeah.
The other drug man, right? Not the cool drug man.
The stopper drug man.
Yeah. The stop drugs man. So like, okay, I had. Oh fuck, man, it was so bad when I was growing up. Like, we had some dude come over, and he was like, you know, you had to watch some like shit little film, you know, like where it's like, oh, I've smoked a joint, now I'm killing my mum. I don't even know why. Like, one of them, you know what I mean? Like, just full on like reefer madness for the fucking 90s generation, you know. So, and then he comes out and he does this talk. This is no bullshit. This is no fucking bullshit. This is genuine fucking memory from my childhood, right? So this motherfucker comes out and he tells a story, completely unsourced, by the way, right? To a bunch of like fucking 10-year-olds or something. He said, oh, there was a school bus driver in America and he'd done loads of acid. Right? Acid, you know, LSD that we talked about in that film earlier, right? And he hadn't done it for years. And he was just driving the school bus, driving to the school. And from nowhere, he thought a dragon was trying to set the bus on fire. So he drove off a cliff, killed all the kids. Don't do acid, kids. Literally, that's the story.
They told
right?
us a similar story as well.
What did you get?
They said, oh, there was this woman, she took magic mushrooms and she thought her hands were snakes, so she cut them off.
Right,
like,
so...
Then I ultimately stumped him, right? Imagine getting wrecked this hard by like a 13-year-old. He said, she cut both her arms off. I went, how'd she cut the other one off? And he just didn't reply.
Bit it up there.
That is the proudest moment of my fucking childhood.
What I like about that,
one off.
You said I stumped him.
Yeah. He said I stumped.
Right. But here's the thing, right? So first of all, right, every time I've done a hallucinogenic drug, it's enhanced my intelligence. Now, here's the thing. Let's say a dragon was coming after me and I'm driving a bus full of kids, right? At no point am I going to think, I'll show this dragon, way, and I'm off a cliff. That's not how you win. That's not how you fucking beat a dragon, you know? You
jump out with a shield. Come on, then.
Yeah, exactly. Something like, you know, Bill Hicks always said it best. You know, when he goes, you see the guy, that news story about the guy who took acid, and it's like, man took acid, thought he could fly, jumps out of 20-story building and dies. What a tragedy. And Bill Hicks says, fuck him. He's an asshole. If he thought he could fly, why didn't he take off from the ground? It's fucking true. So yeah, I don't know, man. I've always said it. I think drugs get a fucking a bad rap, like, and the hallucinogenics and psychedelics and all of that stuff is fucking. They're fucking. They right. The fucked up thing is, they get frowned upon more. Like briefly in the UK, mushrooms were like a Class A drug.
Yeah.
Very briefly, because they fucked up a classification thing. Get your head around that, man. You know? That's fucking unreal.
Someone that could literally pick like less than 5 miles away is a Class A drug.
Class A drug, mate. Oh, and that was the other thing. The best thing about the British law about mushrooms was you could have them wet and growing in your garden. Not illegal. Soon as you dry them, prison for you. Like, what is that like? That's like, oh, you can have a beer, yeah? Don't put it in your mouth, though. All right, I'll have a beer enema. Fuck you. You know what I mean? It's just, what are we doing?
Funnel.
Yeah, Mum, get the funnel. I want to get my drink on. Pour it in there. Fuck's sake, man. Anyway, super cool to get Thomas on the fucking show. What a boss, like. That's where it's at. So, do you wanna fit in another caller?
Okay.
You doing?
We have Big
Make it a
Hungry
good one.
on standby.
Right, Big Hungry's on standby. We get Seth on every show, and he knows that the purity of the show is that we have new people, new voices, new opinions. So
Right.
We'll,
I actually have quite a lot of callers left, so I'll run them off to you, right? Just quick fire. Connor Murphy wants to talk about the impact of sponsors on teams. Milky wants to talk about the direction of esports casting, community calling for more professionalism.
Thing is, I do like Milky. You know, he's tweeted at me a few times, and he was watching the UK CSGO Championship and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so he's a cool guy, man. We should probably just get Milky on.
We drafting in Milky.
Yeah, we're drafting Milky.
Milky it is.
And he's new, mate. And of course, all I can think about is the end of This Is England.
Yeah. Milky.
Killing him, combo.
Milky.
Hey, Milky, are you there? I think he's scared. I think he's having flashbacks. We triggered him.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can, Milky. How are you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yeah, so obviously I was just calling in about the direction of like casting and esports.
Yeah.
Obviously, quick sort of disclosure: pronouns, obviously moo and moo self. Just so you don't trigger me. But no, so for like.
I'm glad we're joking. That's all right. Good.
Yeah.
I went in it there.
He's a trans cow, mate.
Yeah. Let's not get into other kin, please.
Exactly, foodkin. No, so like for casting, obviously, you know, there's a lot of talk on like forums, on Reddit. You see it. People are calling for sort of more professionalism. You know, sort of Riot style, scripted. You know, no tripping up, no sort of inner jokes between yourselves when you're casting. And just from sort of like my perspective, obviously I haven't casted before, but I've worked in for 2 years I worked in a call center for O2. And you obviously,
dude, right? Fuck it, right?
Outbound as well, outbound.
mate, serious, right? My first real fucking job, like real job. I was like a sales manager. I trained outbound people in a call center.
Line manager.
Yeah. Well, they were. It was team manager. I eventually got promoted to operations. But do you know what? Let's talk about how shit call centers are at the end. But let's talk about esports for a bit, and then we'll go on to the cool stuff. All right, cool.
So yeah, like obviously, you know, from my experience of doing that, and just sort of the parallels I kind of draw from, you know, esports casting. You've got sort of, there's a lot of the, like, for instance, I could pitch just very static, you know, this is your contract, this is what it's going to be. You know, esports, they've got the analysts who obviously provide the sort of the nitty gritty. But a lot of the time, sort of, I actually kind of prefer the more, you know, like you kind of feel like you're sort of just having a chat in your living room kind of atmosphere that is kind of, I feel, kind of missing at some points. Like it's not as promoted in esports, casting at least. You know, you look at your fuck it, what am I saying? Yeah, you're looking at, for instance, when you look at Riot casts, obviously production value is amazing, but like the casting, I find it just very sterile. You know, I get really bored, and there's a lot of the times where there are kind of games that aren't like your big top end games, like your finals and that, but they're worth just tuning in because the casters, like as a pair, for instance, are solid. I mean, do you think that's sort of more of like the setup of, for instance, CSGO, where it's obviously more quicker rounds? It's not like got that sort of slow build up like your MOBAs and, you know, StarCraft. Do you think it's more to do with like, at least for CSGO, do you think it's more a case of it's just the kind of the game that you can't really get that sort of, you know, that kind of banter between the casters, that kind of...
I totally disagree. Actually, it's the opposite. If in reality, and I know this when I'm casting because I do it because of the way mechanically how CS works. There's very few pauses in it. It's all high octane. Even things that might seem insignificant to a novice who watches the game, like for example having a slow build up and some smokes being thrown over here. There might be a temptation for a caster to talk over that because they want to tell an anecdote or they want to talk about something. But ultimately, if we're being honest about what you need to do to be the sort of super awesome caster, you really need to address that and talk about that, right? There's nothing that's insignificant apart from the 15 or 20 seconds or whatever it is at the start of a round, the buy time. you can fucking you can definitely drop it then. But the reality is that everything is significant in the game. Whereas in MOBAs, there are periods where people are just farming, just chilling. That we're waiting for ultimates to come up. You know, we're gonna group up and go for a fight in a minute. You know, there is natural pauses that lends itself to like that Monte Cristo style of casting, where you can tell a story, say something funny, and it's good. So actually, I would probably say it's the opposite. It's kind of weird that Counter-Strike is the banter zone when it comes to casting.
Yeah. Because I mean, like for instance, like some of the casts I can remember, like when like Apollo and Rotti are obviously doing StarCraft, like you can have like really good banter with them, and it's just sort of like you see people sort of calling for the professionalism, like a kind of a nebulous term, like P's and Q's and things like that, or is it sort of they're more sort of talking about how they're actually sort of more analysts? Because you yourself did a video about sort of considering yourself more of like a pundit than an actual analyst.
The thing is, like, I can analyze a fucking game of CS, but like, no one's going to take it seriously if I do, because I've never played at a high level. So even though, like, I know for a fact, like, okay, we made this joke in Valencia. Fifth Lauren was pretty like tired or hungover or ill. I can't remember which one. Probably is all of the above. And he gave James Duffield a description of all of Fnatic's players, and he called Flusher an entry fragger. And I ripped him apart on stream about that. But the thing is, like, when Fifth Lauren makes a mistake, it's the beloved Fifth Lauren. So it's okay. Like, I love Robin a bit. He's a great guy. But he's so popular. I mean, now that he retired, now that he got basically forced into retirement after being shit on for 2 years by the same assholes who say they love him now, he knows that he can get away with fucking saying anything. He could sit there and say something that's patently untrue. Whereas what happens with me is I can get 10 things right and say 10 things accurate. It's the one thing I say wrong that makes an HLTV thread with 500 comments why Richard Lewis needs to be fired and shouldn't be an analyst. So I guess it's just safer to say I'm a pundit. And, I like to talk about stuff that's outside of the game. Like, I think just focusing... Like, casters do that anyway. Like, good casters do that anyway. And, you, as a fan, have just intelligently watched the game. So me coming in at halftime and going, well, the big thing that won him the game, Billy, fuck that, man. That's a waste of everyone's time. I think what me and Duncan do is actually better in terms of a broadcast, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's the sort of the people who are saying like you need more to like the analytics. I guess it's nice if you're sort of one of those people who's in like silver and you're trying to move up and you want that kind of breakdown of the game. But then there's obviously the people who are kind of more just sort of casually watching the stream, or obviously you've got like the top end people who don't really give a shit what the casters are saying. They're just like focused on the VODs and that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
So that kind of analytics stuff, I would just say cover your basics for it, but the rest of the time kind of more sort of just free talk, let it out, show a bit of personality. Like I said, have that kind of environment where you're kind of talking in your living room with your mates.
But I love that. That's what I try and bring to everything I do. Like, this is trash talk, right? Like, I just like talking to people, and we have fun with it, and we go in interesting in different directions. I treat every broadcast the same. Like, I did that CSGO Championship cast. I know you watched that because you tweeted at me. I read one of your tweets out on air. And I don't see why a fucking cast should be any different. Like when a team is like ridiculously ahead and it's like 13-1 and there's like no chance of a comeback. Like, like we saw with, I think it was Radical and Infused, where they got 3 rounds across 2 maps. We may as well start talking about other shit and having a bit of fun with it. We may as well, right?
Exactly.
It's not like it's a competitive game. But here's what I wanted to ask you, right?
Sure.
So I think one of the most important things to a Riot broadcast is that it remains at a certain tone. It remains on message.
Yeah.
I think they don't want commentators to actually get too carried away. And it's interesting because when Rivington dropped the holy shit they won the game, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was like a genuine moment for like the first time and since I cannot remember with League. Yet, actually, I think Riot were kind of a little bit like... They did include it in a promotional video a little bit later, but...
I think a couple of times, like Crepo's obviously dropped a bit of colourful language in there as well sometimes. He obviously mentioned, like, they've got a quota for it, but it's kind of like Riot don't want them to rock the boat, for that. They, like, obviously, with Thorin, what happened to him... that was obviously not within a cast, but as in like anything which can draw sort of, a sort of a lot of contention, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for here? Fuck. But it's in anything that can cause like a controversy. They don't want any of that. It's very sterile. Whereas it's kind of, when you're casting, you kind of want, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't want people sort of to freak out over that stuff. It's just like, okay, someone used a bad word. We all know it's a bad word, but it's not like the end of the world. Like in some phone calls that I had with customers, sometimes you slip up and you hope your line manager doesn't listen to that call.
Yeah.
But so it's sort of like, it's just like, well, for them, their jokes, like they're kind of, like freaks, puns and all that stuff that they throw in. It's just, like I said, I find it very, very sterile.
That feels really forced to me now.
Yeah.
It's like what they realized is, it was like, I remember when they brought in the newcasters after Joe and D-Man went, and they did the NA Challenger series, and they did that joke. It's one that sticks in my mind where it's like they were talking about Malphite maybe getting like jiggy with a tower or something. And he's like, hey baby. It was like beyond cringe. And it was just like, oh my God, stop this. Like, because if you're not naturally, like, if you're not a funny guy, don't try and be a funny guy. Like, maybe you've got another good quality. It's not like comedy is de rigueur. Like, you have to fucking hear to that, right? But in a Riot broadcast, I think they aim so much for PG-13 shit that they actually want, like, they don't want it to be too complicated. They want jokes. And things that work are things like puns, okay? Like, who was it? Who was the guy? Fuck. The one who told the anecdote about how they filled up the condoms with fluid to make Zach's noises.
I have no fucking idea.
Kobe.
No really
idea.
good.
Kobe.
Now, Kobe's too good for that fucking company, frankly. I hope he always adds something. And he feels like he's a little bit marginalized, a little bit underused. Kobe should be casting a game like fucking Counter-Strike. He would be a fucking star. No doubt. Like,
I agree. Like, I have sort of fallen off the league scene, but before, when obviously like D-Man and Joe were there, and they had like those tri-casts of him and Kobe thrown in. Like, those were some of like the really best casts I've watched, because it's just very, they've got the jokes thrown in there, but they're obviously doing it to a very high standard in terms of like the actual cast. Joe and D-Man obviously pretty world class in that aspect. You know what I mean? So Kobe, I think, he's the one that I would say sort of that's still there. I think he's sort of underutilized and could probably do better elsewhere.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, like, you could tell there's like a real edge to him, and like just by throwing in that joke where he said we filled a condom with fluid. Not that kind of fluid. He's talking about semen, guys. Like, that's the kind of thing that I think. Yeah, this guy's got a fucking an adult fucking brain.
Exactly.
He's wasted trying to make 14-year-olds fucking feel like they're in a safe space. Get him to do a real game, right? One of the great things about Counter-Strike is that even when we're aiming for professionalism, like even when we are specifically told, okay, so I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
There is a fucking legendary story. Do you know the StarCraft player Harstem? Dutch guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking brilliant. I've known him since he was in Fanatics Academy side. He is a fucking legend. He makes every event for me, this kid. I love him a bit, right? And he's got a story, and I won't tell it because it'll fucking ruin it. He needs to tell it because of the way he tells it. And it's basically about him and the time he got a massage off a dude in California. It's the funniest shit. It goes in directions which you'd expect, but then it goes in unexpected directions. So it's fucking hilarious. Now, I said at DreamHack, like, can I get Harstem to tell this story on air? Because it will fucking make your broadcast. It'll go viral. Everyone will fucking love it and laugh about it. And DreamHack said, "What's the story?" So we made Kevin tell it, right? And he was like, everyone was buckled. Like, we've heard it before, and we were still crying with laughing. It's unfucking real. And DreamHack went, nah, this is too much even for a DreamHack, Rich. This is too much even for a DreamHack. So we had to let it just go. Like, we couldn't do it. We couldn't talk about it. So I'm not saying that even the most edgy broadcasts need to fucking really go all out. That probably is over the line, if I'm being honest. But the reality is, like, if you swear in the heat of the moment, it can't be the end of the world. If you listen to local sports radio, That happens once every few months. If you, equally as well, being genuinely excited about a game, like saying, getting caught up in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, big hype, and you just sort of let one slip, like, oh crap.
Even John Motson does that. It's just, I don't know. I just think it's a shame because it's almost like they try and artificially hype stuff up. Equally, Riot games, the biggest sin in a broadcast is when a team are playing bad and a team are just clearly not going to win the game.
Yeah,
they still talk about comeback potential. they literally still talk about comeback potential. They're always saying, "Well, this is going to be really hard for them to come back. They're 40 kills down." It's just right. Can we start talking
gold
about
lead?
Yeah, and they make such a big point, like, "Oh, Riot don't censor us. Hey, look, we can even talk about bugs." You don't always do that, right? And second of all, you never call a team bad. Like, it rarely happens. I think I've heard maybe one or two examples where, like, a caster said, that was an awful play, that was crap. It's either that was a mistake, which isn't quite the same thing as you're playing shit, or, I don't think that's what he intended to do. Like, look, in Counter-Strike, if someone runs out Wazdering and misses 5 flash people with their back to him, what do we say as casters? Oh my God, that's a fucking horror show. That's shit.
Yeah.
That's what we say. So I don't know.
I've certainly noticed that. Obviously, because for CS:GO, like I didn't really get into the scene too much. I've always kind of been one of those people who I'd done like COD 4 Pro mod, like just sort of, I guess, sort of amateurly in my spare time back in the day. But sort of that appreciation I still have for CS:GO, just for the type of game that it is, and obviously Source as well. And so like when you sort of parallel like Riot and then obviously for instance the CS:GO cast, like as you said, you kind of call out that was I wouldn't say effing terrible, but I mean, like that was just rubbish. You don't get that in League at all. They're like, I
get the swearing thing. Yeah, I get the swearing thing. Like, don't swear. I don't swear.
Yeah.
I don't think I swore once during this CS:GO cast for the UK Championships. But I said that's embarrassing. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not obviously advocating that we sort of allow dropping F-bombs. I mean, sure, keep a level of professionalism, but not try and sort of elevate it like everyone's trying to call for, like sort of Riot sterile casting. It's sort of to kind of tie into what you were sort of talking about earlier in terms of like trying to kind of sort of appease mainstream. It's sort of like, why do we need to? Why? Like, showing sort of it on esports on TV. I mean, sure, your parents might see it, and some people think, oh, that'll vindicate me, that'll show the bullies, or my parents will think, okay, his hobby's not so bad, But it's like they're not going to actually get into it. And people who are getting into it are actually probably getting into it through a friend or picking up a console or something like that. So sort of starting a different end of the spectrum, whereas esports, like, I don't really see why people are trying to make esports super accessible when it already is if you get into the actual sort of culture itself.
Yeah, but again, this is the other thing as well.
Besides the money.
we try and adhere to, like you say, a TV broadcasting standard. We got our own shit. Right? We've got our own fucking TV. You have to opt in. You have to say you're 18 to watch adult, games. Counter-Strike's an adult fucking game. Half the cunts who play it shouldn't be allowed. Reality check. Yeah. If my matchmaking is anything to go by, I hear kids whose balls haven't dropped playing with me. Well, you definitely can't. You shouldn't be playing this game.
Shouldn't be shooting terrorists.
Exactly, and as such, I think it's only fair game when I call them cunts. No, I'm kidding. I generally tone it down for the kids. But the reality is, I shouldn't have to play with you, so don't expect any fucking respect from me. That's like a fucking 12-year-old kid coming into a fucking working men's club. We're all pounding beers after a fucking hard day down the mines, and this little kid wants, you're not going to get took seriously. Get the fuck out. Like, this is just how it works. Come back in 4 fucking years when you've got a soul-destroying job and you hate your life as much as we all do. Then we'll fucking talk, right? So, speaking about soul-destroying jobs, right? I want to end the show. Let's talk about call centers, man. Let's talk about that. So, you worked in a call center for O2.
Yeah.
So, let me guess, right?
Terrible company, by the way. Terrible company.
Good. Now, even though your accent is neutral, I know a lot about the call center merry-go-round. So, they've got offices in Newcastle, They got offices in. I'm pretty sure they got some in Scotland and Glasgow. I think.
A lot of the sort of northern regions are preferred for call centers just because
Yeah,
of natural access.
but they do have a call center in London, right?
Right. I'm unaware of that, but yeah, sure.
I think they do. I could be wrong. I know some. I think Vodafone do. There's a bunch of mobile phones. So, did you work in the Newcastle one or the Glasgow one?
So no, because I live in Manchester. I was working in Altrincham. It was actually like an outsourced.
Ah, right. Oh shit! Yeah. We had one of them in Middlesbrough. It was called Garland's. We used to call it the Tower of Doom. Each floor was a different outsourced call center. It was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
So that's even worse because you get none of the perks for working for the company, but all of the expectations. That really does suck, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, for instance, Virgin, they've got a call center right next to our one. Now, when you sign up with Virgin, they'll pay you, like, the first 3 months. You get your comms, full comms, which you get, like, $1,000 extra on top of your salary for your first 3 months. Like, whereas when I joined up for O2, they were like, yeah, no, you got to pass probation, otherwise you're fucked. Whereas Virgin, even if you're on probation, for the first 3 months, you're getting like $2,000 each month, which isn't bad for for a call center. So where I worked, it was shit. It was just absolute shit. Again, like I said,
tell me what you hate. Like, why are O2 a terrible company?
Well, they've got shit deals. And
we just talked about from a mobile phone thing.
Well, yeah, but isn't like I'm sort of sat there, you've kind of got like a P45 and a staple gun to your head, and you're just sort of sat there trying to pitch to someone, like I did proper outbound, not just sort of, pre-existing O2 customers.
Yeah, cold calling, mate, the classic.
Yeah, literally cold calling. And so you're trying to pitch the shittest deals to these customers.
Do they make you read off a script on your screen?
Well, you've got like a call structure you kind of want to adhere to, right? But I mean, you do for sort of the sake of actual
the warm greeting.
Yeah, like you're trying to kind of hug the person whilst you put your hand in the back pocket kind of thing.
Yeah, I get it. Mate, I'm a legend of that shit. I'm a legend of that shit. So go on. No, fuck all this. Give me your pitch. Give me your pitch. Come on. Take me through a call. It doesn't need to be like how you would do it, just structurally. Come on. Lay it on me. So I want to see how far we've come in 10 years.
Fucking hell, as well. So you've got to do like your DPA. Shit, what does that entail? Over the age of 18 in the UK and the main user of the phone, I think, if I'm right. DPA.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. Obviously, you have to do your sort of probing questions, find out what they use the phone for, all that shit. Like, and
that's features and benefits. You've got to do features and benefits. Yeah. I talked about this with Sam the other day. Yeah. You have to do your features and benefits.
And then shit. Once you got that, you're going to try to match a product to them.
Yes, of course. Which you can only get through small talk, right?
Indeed,
yes. Where the obviously.
And then you pitch out on that. And then you sort of, if they have any kind of questions about it, you don't really want to actually sort of get caught up in the nitty gritty. You just kind of want to strong arm them into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've had some calls where like in my head I kind of work out this is going to save this person like $1,000 in a year. And you pitch it to them, and they're so fucking stupid. They're like, "No, don't want it because it's direct debit." And you're like, "Fuck."
It's got to be a con. It's got to be a con as well. If it's too good to be true, it is. That's
how do I know you're calling from O2? You get that so fucking much.
How do I know you're calling from O2?
Because it's an outbound, outsourced call center. Technically, it's not actually O2. Even though I'm trained as if I was working for O2. And we use the same bloody systems to sign people up, everything. But it's just like I said, you cannot tell them. Like, no, it is an outsourced call center, but I do represent O2. You can't say that. You have to say, I'm calling from O2. And it's just, the fucking mental gymnastics.
So what's your first line?
So if you go, first name's Jeremy. So you just go, hi, I'm Jeremy, calling from O2. And usually that's when they hang up.
I was going to say, you won't get further than that.
Yeah, no, you really don't get far with it. I got moved on to P2P, which is a bit more of an easier gig. It's just pre-existing customers. They still hate your guts, though. So, call center's really shit gig. Don't do it. Everyone hates you.
Well, yeah, everyone hates you, and the worst thing is you're cooped up like a battery hen. You got your KPIs, which include calls per minute, as if that's some indicator of quality, which of course it isn't. It's actually the antithesis of that. I used to just ignore that stat when I was managing my team. I don't care. Like, just let's have a high conversion rate. That's what's important to me. That's where the money's at, right? I don't want you to get through 500 calls a day if you fucking convert one of them. I'd rather you did 5 and convert all of them. That makes better business sense. You don't need to recycle the data as much. I mean, this is all basic shit that most team managers, they don't even get their heads around it because they're just told these are the numbers that your team needs to hit. If you don't hit them, you don't get your bonus, right? That's how it works. I mean, like, what you have to understand is, like, a team manager in a call center is just as wretched as anybody that's on the phones. You know, they're having it's a different kind of bad time. The only perk is, well, you get to talk to a real human being on the end of the phone, or more often than not, you get to talk to a dial tone and hope nobody notices. The manager has to sit and listen to those calls. I don't know if you've ever had this where someone goes, Milky, I'm sure they call you that at work. They go, Milky, I just listened to your last call, and I got to go over a few things with you. And then they rate it, like, straight after the call. You ever had that? Oh, hello? Has he gone? I've aboard him.
He's still in the call.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's good. Sorry, don't worry. I'd muted me too. Like, fuck it. You're like, oh, I don't. If I wanted to talk about work,
No. It was.
I'd have gone to work. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. No. So it's just like with your managers pulling you aside, that's always shit. But as you said, like the managers are just as bad as you on the call. So like I've had instances where you have those deals where it's so like maybe the person can't type in their card number and shit, and technically it's illegal to actually take the call. Take the card number over the call, but you're kind of really pushing for that sale. So you kind of, again, you hope your manager doesn't pick that call to listen in on, and your quality doesn't call it in.
I worked for one mobile phone company.
I've had disciplinaries for it, and then like you've had managers.
How far are you? Final written?
Oh no, I've already left.
Oh right, so you left before that happened. How far did you get in the disciplinary process?
Probably like third. I mean, everyone was fucking doing it. Everyone was doing it. Like, people were smashing out like 6 sales in, you're targeted for 3. But everyone was doing it like really dirty shit, like, cheating the credit scores and stuff. And like your managers, they themselves would come on, take the card details over the phone. Again, illegal because it's recorded. And then, the next day you get called up by quality for it. And then your manager takes you into a side room and then obviously has the disciplinary hearing and shit, telling you how bad you are for, doing this over the phone. It's like, motherfucker, you're on my calls doing it yourself. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That happened all the time. Not only that, though, they're the guys pressurizing you, like, Milky, you've got to make these 3 sales, or, we're going to have to put you on.
Got to get that rap time down. It's like,
Yep. That's definitely how it goes. So, I mean, okay, so I used to work for a company where and I won't say which one, but they're fucking terrible, and I hope everybody, I'll say it, Phones For You. And I hope everybody dies in Phones For You. If you've ever worked for Phones For You, I hope you die. And I hope if you're a manager in Phones For You, I definitely hope you die. And that's a terrible company. They don't give a fuck about workers' rights.
They've closed down.
Yeah, well, good. But I hope that not just metaphorically they die. I mean, literally, I hope they all die. If you just the only person who needs to survive who worked for is me, and everyone else dies, right? So, but anyway, what we used to do was we'd get, I don't know, because I used to do it in Middlesbrough, right? So in Middlesbrough, have you been to Middlesbrough?
No.
Yeah. It ain't good, mate. It ain't good. It's as bad as it sounds. So Middlesbrough is a place where it's got it's the best. Hang on, this is a subjective term. It's the best place to go for prostitution in England. It's you get the most bang for your buck, if you pardon the phrase. People from Scotland come down to Middlesbrough to get laid. Fucking toothless. Fucking crack addicts, and I'm not even overselling it. In fact, if you go down the road where Teesside Courts is, if you go literally outside Teesside Courts is the best place to get a prostitute. Actually, that's true. And I've never done it because I like exotic prostitutes, and they're not exotic in Middlesbrough at all. Now, also combine the fact that it's one of the cheapest places to get a prostitute. It also is the cheapest place to buy heroin in Europe. Yay! Middlesbrough. So I'm working in Middlesbrough, and I got to sell these fucking derelicts mobile phones, right? Yeah, how the fuck does this work, right? So you would just get some cunt, like literally, you'd be walking past, and my job was I was what we called in the company the getter. So I had to go get them, right? So you were allowed to pitch for business. It was like
So
two
you're like
meters.
the what's the word for it? Like the lead. You'd find the leads. Is that right? Is that
Yeah,
what you were?
well, no. So literally, because it was a shop,
Right. Oh, right,
I,
right.
I was allowed 2 meters outside of the shop, and anyone that walked past, I basically had to confuse them enough to bring them in the store. That was my job, and I was great at it. Like bullshit, blah, blah, blah. That's my thing, right? That's my jam. So you would literally see them like walking past, like just all fucking bouncing off the walls, like not even knowing what they are, just full gouching. Some fucking toothless fucking derelict. And I'd be out there going, hey, you all right, mate? Hey, I can see you're off to, it's 9 a.m. and you've got a kind of special brew in your hand. I can see you're off to meet your mum or something, but you must have 5 minutes to spare. Come on in. I tell you what, I'll put the kettle on for you. Yeah, coffee. You definitely need a coffee, mate. You're reeking of booze. Come in. So you're getting them in, and they're like, what's all this, mate? What's all this like? And you'd be like, you're a mobile phone user, aren't you? Safe bet, everyone has one. You always open up with that. Yeah, of course I am. Well, look, you're due an upgrade, mate. Right? And again, he isn't, and he doesn't know how I know that, but the point is he probably is, and if he isn't, we used to have money where we could just buy them out of their contract anyway and just stick them on another one. So even though they were simultaneously paying 2 contracts, the money we gave them paid for the second one.
Yeah.
That's how it worked, you see. Oh, am I? Well, the funny thing is, mate, this is my mobile phone here, and he pull out some fucking piss-soaked Nokia. Right, that had been in fashion for 5 fucking years. You'd be like, oh, well, that's a great model, that one. But yeah, we can give you something even better. Look at this one. You pull out the next shittest one up from him. Like the one that you've got 5 million of in the cage upstairs that you cannot fucking get.
20 quid phones, 20 quid phones.
Yeah, exactly, right, yeah. And you would be like, look, isn't this great? And he'd be like, yeah, that's fucking... He's just looking at the colours, this cunt. He don't know what's going on. Yeah, that's fucking amazing, mate. That's fucking great. What have I got to do to get one of them then? Well, first of all, take the syringe out your arm. You know what I mean, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But it's all you have to do, mate. Simple as this. We'll get you one of them. A day all you got to do is fill in this form. We need 2 forms of ID. That's it. And Bob's... ID. Well, I've got this Blockbuster card.
My bus pass.
Yeah, and you're like, yeah. That's not gonna fucking work, is it? Have you got any other ID? You don't. Okay. Well, look, tell you what. Here's what we're gonna do, right? I'm going to speak to my manager and see if we can make a special case. And this is what I mean. Like, they feel, again, I'm definitely not leaving now. I'm important. Like, they're going to break the law just for me. Like, of course you're not. Yeah. You go over and you go, look, we got another fucking nutter over there, but we can sell him a load of shit. All we need to do is get him to come back with the fucking scan of a passport or a driving license or anything he has in a week.
Put it in, like, his girlfriend's name, some dodgy shit, like 16-year-old kid's name.
Or a relative, whatever it takes. And what we'll do is we'll send the paperwork off today, and we'll smudge it, right? Literally smudge the passport number or whatever we claim is the ID we have. And when it comes back and they're like, oh, the scan's bad, we'll fill it in then because hopefully he's come back by then. And if it doesn't come back, what you do is a disco reco. It's a disconnect reconnect. So it's when you disconnect the new phone you've sold them and anyway, blah, blah, blah. So that's what we used to do. It was literally basically selling shit that you didn't need to people who couldn't afford it. For people who weren't even fucking legally allowed to have it.
Yeah.
And from the top down, that was how it worked.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the same thing happened in our call center. Like, to pass credit checks, people have no fucking chance to pass them. You'd be like, okay, so I'm just going to pop you on hold, and we're just going to try and run this through. Because like, you try it the first time, it comes back as a fail, doesn't work. You're like, shit, okay. You don't tell the customer that, but you just sort of say, I'm going to pop you on hold whilst just wait for this to go through for you. So you put them on hold. You have their address in there, right? And what you do is you just take out the door number, and you would just sort of, you put a full stop, you put like a full stop in between their name. You just sort of do like, you just fuck it all up, and it would pass the credit check, and boom, that person's got an iPhone 6 they can't even fucking afford, and they're probably not going to pay O2. They're going to go into debt for it, but you're just like, fuck it, just get that sale, get my comms. They can go to hell.
Shittiest deal I ever did was we had some people like, it was like 2 women from Thailand or something.
Right.
And they came in and were like, they'd literally only been in the country 6 months or something. There was no way they were getting a phone.
Yeah,
but, they were decent looking and, whatever. So they came in, they said, oh, they gave us the name and address. And I was like, yeah, just full on humouring them. I'm just going to run you through our systems now. Yeah, don't worry. I'll put you through as a privileged you. Like, you're not getting nothing, bitch. You're getting nothing. That's what I'm thinking. Anyway, I put the name in. Ding. For some fucking reason. Whoever lived at their address must have been a fucking saint. Because they had green full credit. Full fucking credit. Give them anything. Wicked sound. So I went, do you know what? You ladies, you're stylish, fashionable, sexy. I got just the phones for you. We had a bunch of fucking Nokia Siroccos, if anyone remembers these. They were like the phone from the Matrix, but they were gold plated with diamonds in the fucking 5 in the middle. Needlessly, yeah.
Flip up one, isn't it? The
No,
push
it's like you pulled it like that, and the phone came out. And anyway, Nokia Sirocco, gold plated. They did gold and they did platinum, and there was a fucking diamond in the middle of the 5 or whatever. Ridiculously fucking extravagant. And no one got these in fucking Middlesbrough. We fucking literally and we put them on like the most ridiculous contract. We were like, you're going to be calling Thailand all the time, aren't you? So you need unlimited text messages in the UK. Yeah. Wicked.
I had to blag it to like an Irish guy who he travelled to the south, and obviously that's not in the UK, so you get charged international calls, and yet countless times you're blagging it to these Irish people that if you go south you get free calls still, blah blah blah, even though they're going to be charged like 50p a fucking minute, quid 50 here or there. It's just like, just let it slide. They don't need to know that, just it's free for the first 5 minutes, fuck it. Just completely blag it. It's just stupid.
And that's what I mean. Unfortunately, the brutal reality about the sales world is I know it's shit as I'm doing it. Like, it's not like I go home and wank off about like, oh, it was so good ripping those 2 women off. Like, but if I don't do it, I lose my job.
Yeah, like I said, P45 with a staple gun. It's just like, you've got to do it. You've literally got to do it. You know that you're blagging it, and these people like could go into debt. It's shit. It's just like they're getting a really shitty upgrade, or it's actually a worse phone. When you're pitching someone a worse phone, I've had to do that. Like, they have a really nice iPhone. You're like, yeah, take this Nokia. It's better. It's got more features, and it's just
all right. Full confession for you, Milky, because I'm sure everyone who watches this show thinks I'm a good human being. The flashpoint where I actually made the decision to get into esports full time, and I just stopped working at Phones for You, was okay. So little old lady comes in, and she has got a well old phone. Like, it was like,
as they do.
Yeah, the voice message was recorded by like Alexander Graham Bell or something. Like, fucking, you know what I mean? It was way back.
Yeah. Uses like £10 credit in 4 years or some shit.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And she was pay as you go, obviously, as well.
Yeah, obviously.
And she said, she just wanted to see what her options were. So here's the thing. Like, I said, well, first of all, you shouldn't be on pay as you go. You should be on a contract. And she goes, oh, no. There's no need for that. I never used the phone. And I said, yeah, but the thing is, do you know how pay-as-you-go works? I said, if you don't use that, and this is true, if you don't use that credit within 3 months, you lose the credit. And she goes, oh. And I said, now I want you to imagine a scenario, God forbid.
Yeah, you give them a tragic story, they fall down, they need to call the ambulance.
You fall over and you've broken your hip.
Yeah.
And you can just reach your phone with your little frail arm. And you pick it up and you think, I'll call my daughter. It was a daughter you had, wasn't it? Yeah, Sandra. Yeah, she's great. And you go to dial, and again, this would never happen.
I know.
You can't even dial 999 because you don't have credit on your phone. Now, of course, 999 is free. And this look on her face, like, just like, oh my fucking God. Like, by not having a contract phone, I could die miserably in my own bathroom.
Yeah,
and I knew it'd click.
I've had calls literally like this, where like a guy had a heart attack, and his daughter, he luckily was able to call her, but I was like, look, like, you're on pay as you go. You want this contract. You got that peace of mind. You can always contact her. Never have to fucking worry about it. And you sort of sell him that sob story, and he just buys it up, and it's just like, you feel such a subhuman being for doing it, saying you're going to fall over, you could die. It's just like, oh, Fuck my life.
The worst part was, right, so I said I did give her the lowest contract, but the lowest contract commission wise was still good for the store and everything.
Yeah.
And as she was leaving, she really warmly shook my hand and said, "Thank you, sir."
You saved my life.
Yeah, like hell, she goes, "I didn't know." And I don't even want to think about it. Thank you, really, thank you. If you're ever in this part of Middlesbrough, do drop in for a cup. Like, really laid it on thick, and I was just like, oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, see you, little old lady, I've just ripped off. See you, and off she went, and I was just like, that was when I started having the breakdown, and I thought, you know what? eSports is better than this. It's got to be better than this.
It's why I left. You just can't handle it after a while. You just feel like you're like deceiving these people so badly just for the sake of getting sales and comms and like keeping your job. You just, like I said, you feel so subhuman for it. Like I said, if call center work ever comes up for anyone, don't fucking do it. You'll go batshit crazy. Just from customers are stupid as fuck anyway for believing you.
And to all the people that are in chat now saying I'm a monster or a scumbag, I just want you to put it in perspective. She's probably dead now. There we go. That's I shouldn't have made that joke. That was pretty horrible. Look, Milky, it's been great, mate. I love talking about real shit, obviously, on Trash Talk. We did esports, we did call centers. You're always welcome on this show, mate. So thanks a lot for calling in. You look after yourself.
I wanted to talk about it was just because I wanted to talk about like the mainstream sort of stuff more, but obviously you covered that already with the like previous callers, so it's kind of like couldn't really talk about that. But no worries, mate. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Yeah. Call back, and we can lament the horror of call centers even more. We should just do a call center special. I reckon we just get a load of fucking people who've been in call centers just to come in and cut off call centers.
Worst stories, worst pictures they've had to give.
So
that would be good.
Yeah. So thanks for calling anyway. You look after yourself, brother. Speak soon.
Take care. Bye.
Peace. So there we go. That was Milky. God, wow, that was a rough show. Here's the thing. Okay, that was a bit of a joke there, but just think about it. Like, imagine if as she died right at the end, she went to pick up the phone, and because I told her such a shit model, she didn't get a signal. It could be worse, ladies and gentlemen. It could be worse. Look, here's the thing. You're judging me. I'm honest about this shit. Yeah? You're the fucking weirdos. You pretend you're good people. I know what I am. So fuck you. Right, Sam. I think we did a good show. Mate.
Yeah, except for that last 30 minutes where I fucking slept through, mate. Oh, I also did phones. Alright, mate. Fucking phones.
Mate, just because you've never had a fucking job, because you live in fucking sandfields, like, you're not familiar with the concept of people having to actually leave their house to earn money.
I was a labourer for like a year. I've done my time, mate.
No, I think what you meant to say is your mother was in labour for a year, giving birth to you fucking mess. So fuck off. Like, tell you what, let's have some tequila, like, just to end the show. So, look, mate, it was good. Right, who's this guy who come up with this idea? Let's put Mexican hats on bottles of tequila. Who's that guy?
No.
Who the fuck is that guy? Right, fuck that guy. Anyway, I think it's been a really good show, mate. I think this is, again, Trash Talk, we're starting to find our rhythm. Like I'm not fearful anymore. I don't even really necessarily want it to be about esports anymore. You know what I mean? Just a thought. So let's have a swig of tequila, and then I think it's only fair, Sam, and hopefully you agree with me, that we end the show with our brothers from India. Do you agree?
What, round 2? Same video?
Definitely the same video. Not the other
Are you
video.
going to do the announcement I told you on Skype first?
Oh, yes, we did. So, okay, this is... I hate this, though, man. It
is awkward, but fuck it. People have asked for it. We'll just throw it over.
So a bunch of people were like, we really like Trash Talk. We would like you to do other shows. Maybe do Trash Talk every day because our lives are empty. And you should set up what's it called? Patreon.
A Patreon.
Yeah. And like, I don't like that because like social justice warriors use it and loads of people are saying we should have it. Like, we make no money on YouTube. You know, we appreciate all the donations we get. And like I've always said, this isn't about making money for me. Like, I don't give a fuck, right? But Sam's obviously hit some hard financial times lately. You know, he gets zero for doing this. He's a big part of the show for me. We want to do more shows. So we were thinking about it. Like, if it was, yeah, see, sell out. You know, I agree with you guys. Like, I don't know if it's viable to do it, like, basically is the thing. Like, or ethical or whatever. You know, my days are selling phones to little old ladies along behind us. But if you think it's something that, I don't know, we should do, or like we could get away with, like, I could, you know, if it paid a certain amount, you know, obviously we could do it more often and blah, blah. You know how it works, mate. You know, no one does anything for free. So I'm not going to fucking push the idea. But if you guys, if you guys think this is something you want more of, you know, the reason we ended up doing a CSGO show with Thorin was based on Alpha Draft coming in and sponsoring it and paying top dollar to do it. It was worth our time to do it and plan it and schedule it and rehearse it and all that other shit. Now, Trash Talk's fun because really it's you guys who make the show. But you know, if you wanted to do more structured stuff like the fucking I Hate It Here show we talked about, where we just talk about current affairs and we have a bit of a laugh with it, and maybe we bring guests in or callers in, kind of like a Howard Stern show or something. You know, this is all, again, logistically, it's going to take time out of all of our days, and you know, so I don't know. But ultimately, we thought about maybe setting one up. So full disclosure. So it's up to you guys. You guys decide. Like, literally, you know me. I'm a sentimental old fool anyway. Doing this show is therapy for me and all the people who watch the show and appreciate the show and I interact with on Twitter. And you know, now that I'm been exiled from Reddit, this is for me like the best part of the week, really, in terms of esports content. I hate all the other shit. You know, writing's cool, but that's about it, really. So if you guys, you know, like the thought of that, if it's not too grotesquely offensive, let us know how to proceed. If it is grotesquely offensive and you think it's not what we should be about, then we won't. Simple as that. Anyway, big glug of tequila. Ugh, this is cheap tequila.
Your life's a mess.
You're fucking jealous, bitch. So, I promised I wouldn't get too fucking hard wrecked because, oh god, that was too much, dude. That's ridiculous. Don't donate as much as that guy. Really appreciate it, though, mate. But again,
I didn't even see it. What was it?
Someone gave us $100. It's way too much.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for that, buddy. If you've got a call, you should let Sam know and come on the show. Anyway, I love all of you guys. You know, I've been going through health problems and shit lately. Definitely not linked to my drinking. And Sam is got no money. Doing the show is a labor of love, and we do enjoy it, and we hope you enjoy it too. And with that in mind, we'd like to play you out with our new friends from India. It is the Trash Talk Band and Daddy Round Round. Well, we'll see you next week.
तुके फसाई